Do you think you are free? Think carefully before answering. You wake up, and the first thing you do is grab your phone, scrolling through the screen in search of something new, something to distract you. Then maybe a coffee, a dose of dopamine while watching a short video, a song to relieve the boredom. On your way to work or college, you consume more stimuli, podcasts, social media, incessant notifications. And when you finally have a moment of silence, what happens? A discomfort arises, an emptiness, something that forces you to seek yet another distraction, another immediate pleasure. The problem isn't pleasure itself. Pleasure is a natural tool of the human mind, an evolutionary mechanism that drives us to seek what keeps us alive. But what happens when pleasure becomes the very prison? When the need to feel something good at all times makes us captives of an endless cycle of instant gratification. Aldous Huxley predicted this nearly a century ago. While George Orwell warned us of a future of brutal repression in 1984, Huxley had an even more frightening vision. A world where people wouldn't need to be forced to obey because they would be so entertained, so overwhelmed with pleasurable stimuli, that they would never think of rebelling. A world where slavery wouldn't need chains, where people would love their servitude. Now look around you. What do you see? A society obsessed with entertainment, consuming pleasure without limits, seeking immediate relief for any discomfort. But what is the cost of this? Is this relentless pursuit of instant happiness truly liberating you or keeping you trapped? In this video, we will explore how modern society conditions us to seek pleasure as a form of control, and why this dependency may be transforming you into something you never imagined, a voluntary slave. If you think you're in control of your own mind, you better keep watching, because maybe, just maybe, you will discover that you never were. The perfect slavery needs no chains. It does not require torture, threats, or constant surveillance. It only needs something simple yet devastatingly effective: pleasure. When pleasure becomes the center of existence, servitude disguises itself as freedom. And this is exactly what Huxley predicted in Brave New World. Imagine a world where people question nothing because they are constantly entertained, where the search for meaning is replaced by the consumption of cheap distractions, where pleasure is not a choice but an imposition. In his Dystopia, Huxley created a society where individuals are conditioned from birth to avoid anything that generates discomfort. Whenever a negative feeling arises, an unease, or an existential doubt, solution is at hand: a dose of soma, the perfect drug that keeps everyone anesthetized and docile. But is this world really fiction? Think about your daily life. Whenever you feel boredom, sadness, or frustration, what is your first reaction? Do you stop to understand that feeling? Or do you immediately seek a distraction? Social media, series, food, alcohol, shopping, sex, pornography, the mess list is endless. We live in the age of instant gratification, where any discomfort can be smothered in seconds with a touch on the screen. You never have to face the void, just fill it with another dose of pleasure. And the most dangerous part, it all seems to be a choice. No one is forcing you to consume entertainment 24 hours a day. No one is making you waste hours on Instagram or TikTok. No one is pointing a gun to your head and saying, buy this, eat that, keep scrolling. But if this is a choice, why is it so hard to stop? The answer lies in conditioning. When you get used to seeking immediate pleasure to relieve any form of discomfort, your brain learns that this is the standard solution. Over time, you lose the ability to deal with boredom, with silence, with introspection. Your mind becomes incapable of being alone with itself, and without realizing it, you become exactly what Huxley predicted: a happy servant imprisoned not by force, but by pleasure. But why does this happen? How does conditioning teach us to avoid critical thinking and keep us trapped in this addictive cycle? This is what we will explore in the next part. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Have you ever wondered why it is so hard to stop? Why, even knowing that you should focus on something productive, your hand automatically glides to your phone, your brain begs for a new notification, a new video, a new stimulus. This doesn't happen by chance. You have been trained for it. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. The educational system does not teach us to think critically, but to repeat information. The job market programs us to produce, not to reflect. And the culture of entertainment delivers constant distraction so that we never stop to question the world around us. The sum of all this creates a society where the real threat is not an authoritarian government prohibiting freedom of expression, but a system that makes us completely lose interest in seeking it. Huxley understood this better than anyone. In Brave New World, citizens did not need to be brutally repressed. They were taught to love their own slavery. From childhood, they were subjected to processes of hypnopedia messes repeated during sleep, shaping their beliefs without them realizing it. Phrases like, everyone belongs to everyone, and a gram of soma solves everything, were etched into their minds to ensure they never questioned anything. They grew up believing that happiness lay in conformity, in avoiding any deep thought, in fleeing from any shadow of suffering. Now think about how this reflects in our reality. Today's conditioning does not happen through hypnopedia but through social media, algorithms, corporate marketing, and the flood of stimuli that shape your behavior without you noticing. Every time you receive a notification, your brain releases dopamine. Every time a short video delivers a new piece of information effortlessly, you get used to not having to think for yourself. And every time you are rewarded for confirming, whether through likes, social validation, or immediate pleasure rush, you reinforce the idea that this is the right path. The effect of this, an entire generation of people incapable of being alone with their own thoughts, incapable of dealing with discomfort, incapable of questioning the system because they have simply lost the habit of thinking critically. In the end, a dictatorship is not needed to control the masses when they themselves reject any idea that requires mental effort. But this rejection of critical thinking comes at a price. When we avoid discomfort at all costs, we end up becoming more fragile, more manipulable, more vulnerable. Constant pleasure weakens us, and manufactured happiness can turn us into increasingly passive beings. But how does this happen? How can the promise of a world without pain lead us to complete submission? This is what we will explore in the next part. Imagine a world where no one suffers, where all pains are quickly erased, where there is no sadness, frustration, or anxiety. It seems like paradise, right? But now look closer. What happens to someone who never faces difficulties? What happens to an entire society programmed to avoid any discomfort? The answer is simple. It becomes weak. Huxley understood this trap with chilling clarity. In Brave New World, happiness was guaranteed by the constant consumption of soma, the perfect drug. No side effects, no risks, just immediate pleasure. But what did this happiness really mean? It meant that no one knew how to deal with pain, frustration, or even their own consciousness. Any uncomfortable thought was dissolved in a chemical dose of comfort. Life was an endless sequence of superficial pleasures, sex, entertainment, consumption. Anything that deviated from this pattern was seen as a threat. Now look around you. The modern world may not have soma, but it has its own versions. Social media that offers instant doses of validation. Dating apps that eliminate the fear of rejection. Algorithms that deliver exactly what we want before we even know we want it. Everything designed to eliminate any discomfort, any gap, any need for effort. But this constant escape from pain comes at a cost, and that cost is our own psychological strength. The brutal truth is that pain has a purpose. Suffering shapes resilience. Frustration teaches us to grow. Difficulty forces us to evolve. But when everything is softened, when all challenges are avoided, we become increasingly fragile. Today, any discomfort feels unbearable. Small failures become existential crises. Minor conflicts seem like catastrophes. Anything that requires patience or effort is discarded because we have been conditioned to seek the easiest path, immediate pleasure, quick solutions. And this makes us easier to control. A society of strong, resilient individuals who accept discomfort and learn from it will never be docile. It will never accept living under a system that limits its freedom. But a society of emotionally dependent individuals who need constant stimuli to avoid emptiness, who flee from any form of suffering, that society will be obedient. It will be manipulable. It will be the perfect society for those who want power without having to resort to force. And this is how the trap closes. What seems to be freedom's ability to avoid all suffering actually transforms into our prison. But there is a way out. To escape this cycle, we need to understand the difference between pleasure and purpose. Because while pleasure can enslave us, purpose can set us free. And that is exactly what we will explore in the next part. What are you really seeking in life? Happiness or meaning? Pleasure or purpose? The answer may seem obvious, but have you truly stopped to reflect on it? Modern society has trained us to believe that happiness is the ultimate goal. But what does it offer us as happiness? An endless sequence of fleeting pleasures, likes on social media, impulsive shopping, casual sex, binge-watching series, ultra-processed food that gives us a spike of pleasure and then leaves us empty. All of this keeps us momentarily satisfied, but never for long. And that is the key to the problem. Pleasure is always temporary. It needs to be constantly renewed, or the feeling of emptiness returns. Now, think about the most significant moments of your life, those that truly shaped who you are. Were they moments of instant pleasure or moments of challenge, effort, and overcoming? Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that human beings cannot live without purpose. He observed that even in the worst possible scenarios, those who found a greater meaning in their lives were the ones who managed to survive and maintain their sanity. And here lies the paradox. The pursuit of constant pleasure weakens us, while the pursuit of purpose strengthens us. Pleasure is easy, immediate, and addictive. Purpose, on the other hand, requires effort, discipline, and resilience. But unlike pleasure, purpose does not disappear once the effect wears off. It builds something within us. It gives us a reason to keep going. But modern society does not want you to seek purpose. Purposes take time to build. They require introspection, effort, and above all, resistance to suffering. And all of this goes against the logic of immediate consumption. An individual who finds purpose in life does not need constant distractions. They do not feel the need to fill every second of their day with superficial entertainment. They are not easily manipulated by false promises of instant happiness. And that is exactly why we are constantly bombarded with stimuli that divert us from this search. Because a person with purpose is a dangerous person for a system that thrives on our emotional dependence. So if you feel that something is missing in your life, perhaps the answer is not more pleasure but less. Perhaps the path is not to seek more distractions, but to eliminate the excess of them. And the question you need to ask yourself is, what truly moves you? What makes you get out of bed in the morning? Are you living off disposable pleasures? Or are you building something that really matters? But how do you escape this trap? How do you break the cycle and regain autonomy over your own mind? That is what we will uncover in the next part. Now that you understand how the relentless pursuit of pleasure can keep you trapped, the most important question arises. How do you escape this trap? How do you regain control of your own mind in a world that does everything to keep you distracted, doped, and emotionally dependent? The first thing you need to understand is that this is not an easy fight. The system is designed for you to fail. It wants you to keep seeking quick pleasures, to keep feeding the algorithms with your attention, to keep consuming endlessly. But there is a way out, and it starts with your decision to become aware of the game being played against you. The first strategy to break this cycle is the strategic deprivation of pleasure. This does not mean you need to become an ascetic and reject any form of fun, but rather that you should learn to consciously regulate your exposure to addictive stimuli. The problem is not pleasure itself, but the fact that it is being used against you as a means of control. When you deprive yourself of certain pleasures for a period of time, such as social media, ultra-processed food, or compulsive entertainment consumption, something interesting happens. Your brain recalibrates. It begins to find satisfaction in the small things again, and the unrestrained desire for artificial stimuli starts to lose its strength. The second step is to rebuild your tolerance for discomfort. If you want to regain your autonomy, you need to relearn how to deal with boredom, frustration, and the lack of constant stimuli. This means allowing yourself to be silent, disconnecting from the flood of information, and simply existing without needing to fill every moment with some distraction. At first, this will be difficult. Your brain, accustomed to constant spikes of dopamine, will demand more. But if you resist, you will begin to notice something powerful. Discomfort does not kill you. In fact, it strengthens you. The third step is to cultivate critical thinking. Ask yourself, why do I feel this need to distract myself all the time? Who benefits from my addiction to pleasure? What could I be doing if I were trapped in this cycle of instant gratification? The more you question, the more you will realize that a large part of your habits and desires were not truly chosen by you. They were programmed by the system. But only those who ask themselves these questions can begin to rewrite their own destiny. The fourth step, and perhaps the most important, is to replace pleasure with purpose. As we discussed earlier, the search for meaning is the true antidote to the slavery of immediate pleasure. So ask yourself, what really matters to me? What do I want to build? How can I make my life more meaningful? These are difficult questions, but they are the only ones that truly matter. But there is a problem. Even if you start to break free from this cycle, the society around you will still be deeply immersed in it. And when you decide to change, something inevitable happens. People begin to see you differently. Some will admire you, others will reject you. Because when you free yourself, you also become a mirror reflecting what others do not want to see in themselves. And that is exactly what we will explore in the final part. If you've made it this far, something inside you has already begun to awaken. You've realized that the relentless pursuit of pleasure is not freedom, but rather a cycle of conditioning that keeps you trapped. You understand that modern society doesn't need to physically chain you to control you, it just needs to convince you to flee from any form of discomfort. But now that you see the trap, the most important question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The truth is that escaping this system requires more than just willpower. It means swimming against the current, rejecting the easiest path, and accepting that real freedom often comes with loneliness and resistance. Because when you stop distracting yourself, you begin to see. And when you see, you realize that many people around you are still blind. Some people will admire you for this. Others will reject you. Some will feel uncomfortable with your change. Because when you free yourself, you become a threat to their illusion. They will try to pull you back, convincing you that there's nothing wrong with this system, that life is meant to be enjoyed without much thought. But now you know the truth. Pleasure without purpose is just another form of slavery. So the choice is yours. You can continue living as before, distracting yourself, seeking the next dose of dopamine, ignoring the growing sense of emptiness inside you. Or you can decide to take back control of your mind, build a purpose, and become someone who is not easily manipulated. But I want to know, what will you choose? Have you ever felt trapped in this cycle? Have you noticed how society uses pleasure as a form of control? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts, because questioning is the first step to freedom. And if this video has made you see the world differently, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't go with the flow. We question, reflect, and seek to understand the truths that no one wants you to see. If you want to continue this journey of self-discovery and liberation, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications because this is just the beginning. See you in the next video.